Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on the Royal House of Ra. I am your host, Ramses Khufu El Ra. Today's show is episode 27, and we're going to discuss about the 25th dynasty, also known as the Nubian Kushite dynasty. And we're going to talk about that dynasty and its role in playing in Kemet. So before we go any further, let me just give a thanks to all those who support the show. Keep continuing supporting the show. Please share the content. Also subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when new shows appear. Also like the show as well. So please give your support. It doesn't cost any money to do so. Please give your support, and I greatly appreciate that. And I like to give a thanks to those who subscribe and those who continue to support and hear this show. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to go into the 25th dynasty. Now, this is a great dynasty. And also this Thursday, I'm going to discuss the 26th dynasty, in which that dynasty was considered the last native dynasty of ancient Kemet. From that on, the Assyrians, the Persians, the Greeks basically ruled Kemet from that point on. And I consider calling Kemet Egypt when the Greeks came to power, because it was no longer Kemet at that time, even though they may have taken on the culture and the spiritual belief, but it was a completely different society at that time. But we will go into that. Today we're going to focus on the 25th dynasty and the pharaohs of this dynasty. So let's get into it now. What I'm going to do is give you the dates in which this dynasty was established and when it ended. And then from there, I'm going to talk about the 5 pharaohs of this dynasty and the years that they had reigned. Okay, Dynasty 25, the Nubian, also known as the Kushite dynasty, was established in 747 to 656 BC. The first pharaoh of this dynasty was Pancake, who ruled 747 to 716 BC. Then Shabaka, who reigned 716 to 702 BC. Then Shebitku, who ruled 702 to 690 BC. Then Takara, who reigned 690 to 664 BC. Then Tanutamun, who reigned 664 to 656 BC. Okay, so let's get into this. Since the days of Ramses II in the 19th dynasty, Nubia, the land of Kush south of Aswan, had gone its own way, eventually founding a kingdom, Napata, that was independent at last from its powerful northern neighbor. During the Kemetan presence of the later New Kingdom, the cult of Amun had taken a firm hold in Nubia. Its major cult center, located at the great rock of Jabal Bakr. Here a major temple was built to the Theban god. The priests engaged in his cult like their northern counterparts at Thebes gradually increased their own influence alongside that of the deity until they similarly usurped the kingship. A dynastic succession seems to have been established as early as the late 10th century BC with the use of the traditional pharaonic titles and cartouches. The Nubian conquest. With the breakdown of Kemetan sovereignty in Kemet, the Nubian kings began to look north. They viewed their incursions into Kemet not so much as an invasion, but as a restoration of the old status quo and supremacy of Amun. Hence, when Pancake moved north against the coalition of 4 Kemetan kings in year 21 of his Nubian reign, about 727 BC, he could take the view that these kings had acted like naughty children who needed to be brought into line. After their defeat, he treated them with leniency, confirming them as governors, although one Tefnukat had fled further north into the delta, where he attempted to regroup and at the same time sent an eloquent address to Pancake full of the old rhetoric seeking a truce. Okay, so here basically the Nubians have a direct connect with Kemet. Like I had mentioned before, the roots of Kemet came from the south. So it came from Nubia, it came from Punt, the Kushites from Kush, and these surrounding areas was around Sudan, the Horn, which is the countries in the Horn, which is today Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, Djibouti, down into Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, even far as I heard, even further down to South Africa, of course from West Africa. So they migrated up north into Kemet. So this is, even the ancient Kemites even said where their ancestors came from, where they originally came from the south. So the Nubians saw this not, they didn't see themselves as invaders. They saw themselves as parts of the Kemites. They saw themselves as Kemites because they felt as though they were the root of the Kemetic society, because the Kemetic society got a lot of their knowledge from Kemet and it was brought up. But we can go further with that. A remarkably full account of these events is recorded on a large pink granite block found in 1862 in the Temple of Amun at Gabel Barko, now in Cairo. This so-called victory still is obviously the home copy of an inscription that must have been repeated in other major northern sites such as Memphis, still the secular capital, and Thebes itself. Complete details of the campaign are given from Pancake's decision to march north and take charge himself under the guidance of Amun, down to the discussions about how best to invest the fortified city of Memphis. On the way passing through Amun's Thebes, Pancake celebrated the festival of Opet, during which the figure of Amun was carried from Karnak to the Luxor temple, presumably in front of the temple reliefs carved 600 years earlier under Tutankhamun. Pancake had legitimized his position in the Nubian secession by marrying the daughter of a king named Allura, the 7th king of Napata. At Thebes, Pancake took a firm hold on the priesthood of Amun, by having the divine Atros of Amun, Shepron Wewetpet I, adopt as her successor his sister Menteres I. The maintenance of the cult of Amun at both Karnak and Kabel Barka was an important part of the building program of the successive Kushite kings, to the extent that the later became a huge southern replica of the former. Although curiously it appears that Pancake preferred to rule from Napata in the south, since he returned there he invested himself with the resonant old coronation names of the new kingdom pharaohs, Tutmosis III and Ramses II. When he died in 716 BC, Pancake was buried at El Koru, just to the north of Gabel Barkal, in the pyramid field that was to include the burials of several of the kings of the 25th dynasty, as well as other relatives such as two of Pancake's sisters. The pyramid tombs adopted by the Kushites were very different from their northern adjuncts. They were much smaller, and their angle of inclination was severely sharper than the true pyramid of 52 by 51 degrees. The Kushite kings wholeheartedly embraced almost all the old Kemetan burial customs, embalming the provisions of splendid carved stone ushbats and other funerary accoutrements. They betrayed their Nubian origin, however, in the practice of laying the royal body on a bed in the tomb, and nearby bearing chariot horses standing in teams of 4 to accompany their master. Pancake was succeeded by his brother Shabaka. Here the Nubian secession was at various with Kemetan custom, who continued the revival of old Kemetan traditions, dividing into whatever temple records could be found, or inventing them if necessary. An important relic of this is the Shabaka stone, a slab of basalt 4.5 feet, 1 by 37 meters long, now in the British Museum. Its surface is much abraded and deeply scored from having been used at a later date as a millstone. The next on it states that it is a copy taken from an ancient worm-eaten papyrus discovered at Memphis, and recounting the Memphite theology of the creator gods. The overall control exerted by Shabaka, that is south of the 24th dynasty territory in the northern delta, is indicated by the vast array of building works undertaken in his reign, mainly at Thebes, on both east and west banks of the Nile, and largely in relation to the Amun cult, but also at other major religious cult centers such as Memphis, Ptah, Abydos, Osiris, and Dedera, Hefa, Esna, Khanum, and Etoful Horus. After a 14-year reign, Shabaka died, and, like his brother Pancake, was buried in a steep-sided pyramid at El Koru. He was succeeded each in turn by his nephews, Shebitku and Takara, Pianki's sons. The Nubian hold on Thebes was maintained through the female line when Shebitku married his aunt Amuntares the first, Pancake and Shabaka sisters, the divine hold on for a moment, Atores of Amun. The office was to pass to their daughter Shepin Whippet II. Okay, it's funny how a lot of these Kemetan artifacts is in the British Museum. Why aren't they in the Cairo Museum? That's something to think about. So, under Shabaka's reign, there was a lot of great works that was done here. A lot of building, especially in the Theban area. So, the Nubians have also, I wouldn't say they mimic, but a lot of the style as the customs in Kemet, they follow pursuit. But really, the Kemites really got that from the Nubians. So that's something I can go into another day about that. The threat from Assyria. The history of the pyramids is very much tied in with the rise and expansion of that other great Near Eastern power, Assyria. Shabaka had kept the Assyrian king Sargon II at bay, thanks largely to that ruler's problems in other areas such as Urartu, known as modern-day Armenia, and Shebitku took a different stance and sided with a Palestinian Phoenician revolt against the Assyrian overlords. The Assyrian king was now Sennacherib, who brooked no such interference, and the Levite kings were soon brought to heel. Many events of these campaigns, including the siege and capture of Lachish, are graphically represented in the reliefs from Sennacherib Southwest Palace at Nubia, now in the British Museum. In order to save his city, the Judean king Hezekiah surrendered Jerusalem to Sennacherib, whose opinion of Hezekiah ally Kemet was to liken it to a broken reed. A brief respite followed for the Kemets. Takara succeeded his brother Shebitku as pharaoh in 690 BC, and Sennacherib was assassinated in Nubia in 681 BC, bringing his son Esarhaddon to the throne. Takara's name is the one most associated with the Kushite dynasty, largely because of his widespread building activities, the best known of which is the splendid re-erected column in the first court of the Temple of Amun at Karnak, just one of a series that formed a great portico Cossack. Not only did Takara build throughout Kemet, he was also extremely active in Nubia. At Kawa, he virtually resurrected the abandoned site founded under Amenhotep III and dedicated to Amun. A vast complex was inaugurated there that took on important ritual connotations and was second only to the Gabil Bakal complex. Takara reign was one of confrontations with the Assyrians, the pendulum swinging first one way then the other. At Ashkelon, on the Kemetan Palestinian border, Esarhaddon was repulsed in 673 by the combined forces of the rebellious city and Kemet. In 671 BC, however, the result went the other way. Esarhaddon then struck deep into Kemet, captured Memphis, the heir apparent, and most of the royal family except Takara, who escaped south to Thebes. Another uprising in 669 BC saw Esarhaddon returning to Kemet, but he died on the road and was succeeded by his son Ashurbanipal, who withdrew shortly thereafter. That was the signal for a renewed uprising, but Assyria enacted swift vengeance on the insurgents in the north of Kemet, executing all local nobility save one, the future Nikel I of the 26th dynasty. Takara lost Memphis again and then fled south and on past Thebes to his remote capital at Napata. Mentu Emhet, mayor of Thebes, was left to surrender to the Assyrian forces. Takara had not shared power with his predecessor Shabaka, but in 665 BC he recognized his cousin Tanutamun as his heir and co-regent and died the next year. Tanutamun's vision was one of the resurgence of Nubian and Kemetan grandeur. The gods were with him, he must have thought, as he swept north, taking Aswan and Thebes, and then Memphis himself. The story is inscribed on a still from Gabil Bakal, narrating how, like Tutmosis IV before him, Tanutamun had a dream of greatness, was crowned at Napata, and then realized the dream. The run of good fortune, however, was short-lived. Ashurbanipal reacted swiftly. Memphis fell yet again, and Tanutamun fled south. This time, however, the inconceivable happened. Thebes, jewel of Amun and the ancient world, was sacked and its huge temple treasury laid waste. Its fall was an object lesson to the whole of the ancient Near East, to be quoted for centuries, but such as the Old Testament prophet Nahum, when he mocked Nineveh fall in 612 BC. The Assyrians normally held Kemet, but Tanutamun was secure at Napata. Ashurbanipal would not venture beyond the boundary at Aswan. Tanutamun's death in 656 BC extinguished the century-old Nubian domination of its old foe, Kemet. And that is the end, everyone, of the 25th dynasty and what happened there. If you would like to leave a comment, you can leave a comment. Well, I'd like to know what was your guys' understanding, your facts about the 25th dynasty. Now, this Thursday, which would be April 14th. That would be episode 28, and we'll be discussing the 26th dynasty, which was the last indigenous dynasty of Kemet. And that show will air live at 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Mountain Time, and 12 p.m. Pacific Time. So once again, I thank all of you for tuning into the show. Continue your support, and I hope all of you had a great weekend. I hope all of you have a great day, the rest of your day. And please tune into the show this Thursday. The show is live. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day, and have a blessed day, and God bless you all.